If you've been paying attention to the Jets over the last few years, you'll know that we have been incredibly stagnant on offense, and the Jets may be able to change that with the number 11 pick. Here are my top 5 wide receivers and who I think could be available for the New York Jets. Jets, Jets! Welcome to Jets Talk. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot today. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Since there are no large gatherings and no MetLife draft party this year, we are going to have our own Jets draft party on Jets Talk 24/7 right here. Me, Matt O'Leary, Green Bean, and Gangrene David are going to be taking all your phone calls starting 7 o'clock for draft night on the first round, so make sure you tune into that. I'll leave a link in the description down below. Also, if you guys would like to join our mock draft contest, I believe we're up to 200 people right now. I'll leave a link to that. It's just the first round. They kind of idiot-proof it. All right, guys, I have been looking forward to making this video for quite some time now, so I'm glad to finally get it out there. The Jets have not drafted an offensive playmaker, a wide receiver, in the first round since 2001 when we took Santana Moss. That's almost 20 years of no offensive weapons in the first round in a league that revolves heavily around the passing game. So we are long overdue. I've already released my video on the top 5 offensive tackles, so let's take a look at the top 5 wide receivers, how they rank amongst each other, and who could potentially be available for the Jets in a few different situations. Let's take a look at the top 5. The receivers we're going to be comparing today are going to be T. Higgins, Justin Jefferson, Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, and Henry Ruggs. As far as age goes, all these guys are 21 years old, so no real discrepancy there. Size-wise, the Jefferson, Jeudy, Lamb trio, they're all around that 6'1", 6'2", right around the 200-pound range. T. Higgins is the tallest receiver at 6'4", 216, and Henry Ruggs would be the shortest receiver at 5'11", 188 pounds. When we look at their Pro Football Focus grades from 2017 through 2019, we can see that all these guys have really increased their play over the course of the last 3 years. I do want to say that the grades for 2017, since it was their first years in college, are going to be naturally a little bit worse because they're not getting the playing time because of the receivers that are in front of them. So kind of take the 2017 grades with a little grain of salt. In terms of strength of schedule, I was wrong in my offensive tackle video on the Alabama strength of schedule. I accidentally had my columns mixed up. They were 4th in power rankings, not in strength of schedule. They were actually 47th in strength of schedule, so that could change maybe how you think about the offensive tackles. But Justin Jefferson led the way with the 10th hardest strength of schedule. CeeDee Lamb was shortly behind him with the 12th hardest strength of schedule. When we take a look at their combine scores, it basically verifies what I think a lot of fans sort of felt in regards to this receiver class. You have Jeudy and Lamb basically 1A, 1B. You can almost swap them out either way. Ruggs would be that third receiver at a 6.72, and then Higgins and Jefferson sort of round out the top 5. I did not come up with this scale. This is NFL.com scale, so they all fall within the will be a starter within the first 2 seasons rank and the first-year quality starter. So I think you're going to get a guaranteed wide receiver out of any one of these 5 guys if you were to select them. Moving on to the 7 draft sites and the big boards that they have, I went across Pro Football Focus, Tankathon, Draft Tech, CBS, Walter Football, Sports Illustrated, and The Ringer to kind of pull together all their rankings across the board. And again, it sort of verifies what a lot of fans have been thinking. Jeudy and Lamb neck and neck average out as the 9th best prospect on their big boards. Ruggs would be the 15th prospect, and then Jefferson and Higgins kind of round out that top 5 with the 23rd ranked overall and 28th ranked overall rankings. Next up, I wanted to take a look at their stats over the last 2 seasons, kind of average them together and compare them against one another. I wanted to do that because 2017, you didn't get to see a full snap count from a lot of these players because they were in their first year of college. And then you also have to account for some injuries, like, when Tua went down, they didn't quite have the stats that might have happened if you were actually there. So when you look at it across the board, you can kind of see that Jeudy, Lamb, and Jefferson have the most yards, most receptions, and most touchdowns across the board on these two grading years. And then you have Ruggs and Higgins kind of rounding out that. With Ruggs, I don't want to knock him too bad here. He only had 43 receptions and 744 yards on average over the last 2 years, but he is way more explosive than this would really indicate. A lot of his receptions went for touchdowns, so don't really take too much stock into this. It's just more of a metric to kind of, look at everyone across the board. Now let's move into the individual comparisons for these players. First up, we're going to look at T. Higgins out of Clemson. The pros for him, he has a massive catch radius. He is the tallest receiver of the top 5 receivers in this group. He has perfect size, speed, and hands for a wide receiver. He has highlight reel ability with some of the best hands in the country. doesn't need separation to win down the field, which means he's going to fight for the ball, he's going to high point the ball, and he's going to beat the cornerback. He's quicker than most receivers that tall at the line of scrimmage. He can win after the catch. He had over 10 broken tackles in 2018 and 2019. When we look at the cons, he tends to round off his routes down the field. You'd like to see that be a little more crisp. He has come out and sort of said he didn't really run a full route tree, and that's a little goofy thing to say, but I don't think he can't run one. I think he can absolutely learn one. He seems like a pretty smart guy. But you'd like to see him be a little more crisp on those routes. He allows himself to get pressed along the sideline on longer routes, so you want to kind of give your quarterback a little more room to throw that ball. If he could use some of that strength and size to push the cornerback a little bit more into the field of play, he'd probably help his quarterback out a little bit more. The third con, I don't know if this is necessarily a real big knock against him when you look at the other quarterbacks that these top wide receivers have played with. But one of his knocks is that his numbers are slightly inflated due to him playing with Trevor Lawrence. And I guess when you have arguably the top quarterback in the country, I guess you can kind of make that argument. But I don't see that as too much of a negative with T. Higgins. When we look at Justin Jefferson from LSU, pros, attacks the ball away from his body, plucks the ball out of the air. It's really good to see that. You want to see a receiver just high point a ball and snatch the ball right out of the air. He owned the best contested catch conversion rate in 2019. He has very loose hips. He's very good at selling the double move, so you can shake a defender real quickly with some of that. Has a number of ways to break tackles in the open field. He's got that speed, that quickness, the agility. Varies pacing well on routes, will roll slow and then burst out of his breaks. The guy is absolutely explosive. For his cons, he gets bounced off his routes easily with any sort of contact. Didn't see much press coverage playing from the slot in 2019. A lot of yardage was gained from finding holes in zone coverage, which could be a little bit of an issue in the NFL because receivers and defenders, there's not quite as much of a talent gap there. So when you're playing against a stronger defense, you could see a little less openness in zone coverage in the NFL. And then he needs to add a little bit more muscle. When you look at his frame, he's only about 190 pounds. You want to see him bulk up a little bit more in the pros to try and fight off some of the contact that he's going to inevitably face. With Jerry Jeudy, it is really easy to see on tape how good this guy is. He has elite deep speed. He has this dead leg move that makes defenders miss without even touching them. He understands how to manipulate the leverage on a defensive back. So if you can kind of turn your head a certain way or twist your body a certain way to cause the defensive back to kind of go off balance and create that separation, Jerry Jeudy is really good at this, and it's something you really want to see on the NFL level. He is superb at catch point, even if his size suggests otherwise. He's not the tallest of wide receivers, but he does go up and get the ball. Natural at catching the ball with his hands, very good. You don't want to see the body catches. And he is deadly in the open field. He has the ability to take a ball, take a catch, take a run to the house at any point on the field. When we look at Jeudy's cons, he tends to have alligator arms when crossing the middle of the field. That's not good. You want to extend as far as you can. You want to be able to help out your quarterback because that's where a lot of interceptions could really come into play, with free safeties kind of sneaking back into coverage and popping off an interception. He needs to fill out on his frame. He is a little bit lighter at about 190 pounds, so add a little bit of bulk to his frame should be pretty good. He rarely faced press man coverage and was mainly used out of the slot. Now, that's not a huge knock because when he was on the outside, he did play well. He just got a lot of his production from inside the slot. I want to say almost all his receptions were from the slot last year. So you kind of would have liked to have seen him play on the outside a little bit more. I think that's probably where the Jets would like to have him ultimately, but I don't see this too much as a knock, but it's something to be wary of. He did not have many catches outside of his frame that you'd like to see from elite wide receivers. He doesn't have the big catch radius that some other guys might have, like a CeeDee Lamb or a T. Higgins. So you'd like to see him really, expand that catch radius as best you can. But overall, Jerry Jeudy is a phenomenal wide receiver. Next up, we're going to look at CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma. The pros for him are listed as high-quality ball skills, attacks the ball instead of waiting for it. You can really tell this on the videotape. He runs a mean hitch, flexibility to sink, stop, and work back to the ball. Really good at coming back to the ball, so I'm really, really impressed with that. Manipulates defenders with his route pacing, his steps, and head fakes. So he doesn't get a ton of credit for his route running ability, but he is very, very good in that respect. One of the biggest things that CeeDee Lamb is really heralded for is his yards after catch ability, and he had 26 broken tackles, second most in the country. So really big positive there. The guy is big and strong and is only going to get bigger and stronger as he goes through an NFL offseason. His playing strength is way better than his 191 pounds would indicate, so he plays stronger than someone that would normally be at 191 pounds. and he's terrific against press man coverage. Again, we'll get into this in his cons. He had a lot of free releases at Oklahoma, so he didn't really get to face press man coverage too much. He did dominate it when he did face it, but again, had a lot of free releases in his time at Oklahoma. He's not great at selling the double move. That's probably going to be his only knock in his route running ability. And then you can say that his speed isn't as elite as his other traits. That's the one knock that I've kind of seen on CeeDee Lamb, and it's not to say that his speed is not good. He is fast, but it's just not up to par with the other elite attributes that this guy has. So you can knock his speed, but again, not the biggest con in terms of wide receivers in this draft. Finally, let's take a look at Henry Ruggs out of Alabama. He is the teammate of Jerry Jeudy. Pros, unparalleled speed. This guy is absolutely the fastest wide receiver in the country. Incredible. He has exceptional balance. He bounces off defenders like a pinball. Not afraid to take a shot over the middle of the field. So unlike Jerry Jeudy, Ruggs is definitely adept at going across the center of the field and will not be afraid to take a hit from a safety or linebacker. He is a jet sweep weapon and a decoy with the way he alters pursuit angles. He is so fast that he has to force cornerbacks, linebackers, edge defenders to adjust the way they would otherwise tackle someone else sweeping around the corner, but he is so fast that he is able to sort of adjust those routes and can get more yardage after them. He is outstanding at tracking the ball down the field. That is huge for deep threats. With that kind of 4.2 speed, you want to be able to track the ball deep down the field. He has shown the ability to get off press man coverage consistently, so unlike Lamb or Jeudy, where they're playing from either the slot or not facing press man coverage, Ruggs has seen press man coverage, and he has shown the ability to beat it. In terms of his cons, routes often have a static, straight line approach at the defender. Contact on routes rob him of speed more than you'd like, so when he gets hit by a defender, you don't see the speed kind of pick up quite as fast as you'd like there. He doesn't use his hands or body to separate from defensive backs, and that's a little bit of an issue. Yes, at 5'11", it might be a little bit tougher because you might be going against 6'1", 6'2" cornerbacks, but you'd like to see him use some of that physical ability to get a little more separation. He doesn't pop off the line of scrimmage the way you might expect for someone that has 4.2 speed. He has a great top-end speed, but I think the acceleration might be a little bit of a hitch here, especially if he's getting kind of, bumped around at the very start of his routes, and it takes a little bit of time for him to get up to speed. But overall, definitely like Henry Ruggs. Now that we've gone over all the metrics and all the rankings and everything for this wide receiver class, let's take a look at who my top 5 would ultimately be. And if you guys have been watching my channel, I've been high on CeeDee Lamb the entire time, and it does bring me a little bit of joy that a lot of the numbers tend to back this up. So CeeDee Lamb would be my number 1. Jerry Jeudy is going to be my number 2. And again, it's 1A, 1B here. It's not overly, slanted one way or the other. For my third wide receiver, I like Henry Ruggs a lot. I would have no problem kind of putting him there. I'm going to pick Justin Jefferson. Jefferson was actually my wide receiver 2 for a very long time, and I still sort of feel that way to a certain extent. I think he's phenomenal. I think he outshined Jeudy and Ruggs in their game against LSU and Alabama. So he's going to be my wide receiver 3. Ruggs is going to be closely behind him at 4. T. Higgins, while he has great size and great numbers over the last few years, I'm going to put him as my wide receiver 5. Again, if you were to slide back a few draft picks, like if the Jets were to trade down, I would look at Higgins or Jefferson, probably in the late teens. But if the Jets wind up staying at 11 and offensive tackle is not the pick, I want my boy CeeDee Lamb. I think the guy is destined to be a star. I really think he's the best receiver in this class, and I don't think you can go wrong with this. I know it's a deep receiver class, and we'll go over receivers 6 through 10 to see who could be available for us at pick number 48. But if the pick is a wide receiver at number 11, I would like it to be CeeDee Lamb. Guys, let me know what you think of everything down below in the comments. Don't forget to hit the reminder button on the live stream for the Jets draft party right here on Jets Talk 24/7. Enter the mock draft if you guys would like to do that. We have a few more days remaining of signups for that. But let me know of everything down in the comments. And as always, go Jets.